Well, hi, welcome to our online discussion of December 4, 2015.
Hello.
So I'll introduce you our host, Amy Hasbrook, and myself, Christian Debré. So, Toujours Vivant Not Dead Yet is a project of the Council Canadian with Disability. Our goal is to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability right opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending of life practices that discriminates against people with disabilities. Our topics of today is Quebec Superior Court grants injunction delaying and implementation of euthanasia law, Quebec appeals, and 5 big lies.
Thanks. Okay, the first item is that the Quebec Superior Court granted an injunction delaying the implementation of the euthanasia law, but Quebec has appealed. In a decision rendered December 1st, the Superior Court of Quebec calls the Quebec government to account for attempting to have medical aid in dying recognized as medical care, whereas its practice, as the court noted, whereas in practice it is euthanasia of human beings, which is true. And this is the first time that anyone other than us has said
Oh, no, there is at least
people who oppose assisted suicide.
And yeah,
like I mean the groups who oppose assisted suicide. So this is the first time a government entity has recognized that euthanasia that medical aid in dying is the same as euthanasia.
The appeal of the Carter case do the same too.
Well, sort of. Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Consequently, the court declared inoperative all the articles of the Act respecting end-of-life care related to medical aid in dying, and that's a lot of the section, meaning the parts that have to do with euthanasia. And that were supposed to come into effect on December 10th. Until the federal criminal code sections 14 and 241B become invalid as ordered by the Supreme Court of Canada in the Carter decision. So basically what they're saying is those are going to become invalid on February 6, 2016. And so until that time, the Quebec law is also invalid because it violates those
both of those articles.
Both of those articles that are still in effect. So this is due to happen, as I said, on February 6th of 2016. But there is a strong possibility, and actually we know that the government has already requested that the Supreme Court grant an extension and give Parliament time to enact a new law.
Probably the Superior Court will grant this delay.
Exactly.
It's not sure, but let's say it's supposed to.
We hope they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be bad if we got to February 6th and the Parliament has not acted, and those criminal code sections go away. So basically, it would be a free-for-all.
Free-for-all.
So
everybody kill who they want if you could prove that you were sick and somewhere near the end of life.
Right, exactly. As the Superior Court said, the fact of dressing up assisted suicide and euthanasia of a human being with another name, a euphemism, namely medical aid in dying, cannot have the effect of automatically exempting the practice from the application of a federal law. And that's in paragraph 122. Basically, what they're saying is that the emperor has no clothes. You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Still a pig.
Exactly. The Superior Court continues, to add the word medical to the term aid in dying cannot by itself have the effect of sheltering the provincial legislation provisions that are incompatible with federal legislation in criminal matters, a jurisdiction conferred exclusively to the federal parliament by the Constitution. And that's from paragraph 139 of the decision. This is the first court decision that corrects this manipulative language, and that was devised by the Quebec government in order to shield its euthanasia program from federal criminal law. And they came up with this idea back in 2013, or in January of 2013, there was a legal panel created, came out with a report saying this is how you should make this is how you can turn euthanasia into medical aid in dying, something that won't violate the federal law. But the judge here said, no, that doesn't work.
That week. He was clever enough to see the catch.
There was a pig, even if it had lipstick on it.
Yeah, he saw the pig behind the lipstick.
Right. Thus, the court agrees with the Coalition for Physicians for Social Justice, Living with Dignity, the Physicians Alliance Against Euthanasia, the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, and the vast majority of palliative care doctors who have always stated publicly that medical aid in dying was a euphemism to legalize euthanasia. So that's it's all those groups, plus obviously Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet, who said this all along.
Yeah.
And just to note that all the quotations that we've cited above from the Quebec Superior Court are an unofficial translation of the original decision rendered in French. And I wanted to thank Living with Dignity for permission to use portions of their blog in writing this update. To view the whole blog and more details on the decision, to go to Living with Dignity's blog, at Vivre Dignité, VIVREDIGNITE.org/EN. Okay. The next item is 5 big lies.
Oh, yes.
Big lies. And there are some big lies that are repeated over and over again by advocates for assisted suicide and euthanasia, ASE. We'll just use that acronym. These would be mere annoyances, but for the danger to people in vulnerable circumstances being induced to request ASE, resulting in death by public policy failure. And that's what we've talked about. When you don't have a choice, that's how you end up dying.
Yeah.
Okay. Big lie number 1. The study process was fair and balanced.
Ooh,
And
we was there.
Well, I was thinking this was brought to mind by a column by Chantal Hébert, who is a Quebec columnist, very, very
Serious, a good one, normally.
Effective critic, and she's very smart.
She's working for the Toronto Star.
Right, she works for the Toronto Star and also Radio-Canada. She's very good, but she just completely misses the boat. She was talking about what a great process this study was. It was studied for all these years and blah, blah, blah. And I just, we attended the hearings back in 2010, 2011, and then we saw the report in 2012, and we knew that this was...
It was a crook process.
Yeah, it was not a fair and balanced process. And I use the term fair and balanced because that's what Fox News declares their coverage is fair and balanced. So we all know how fair and balanced Fox News is. So their coverage is just, their process is just as fair and balanced. Any commission that has the outcome as part of its name should be considered suspect. Quebec's Commission on the Question of Dying with Dignity knew its mandate before its first meeting, and the outcome was preordained. For example, an analysis of the testimony received by the Commission, performed by the Quebec-based group Living with Dignity, showed that a majority of witnesses opposed assisted suicide and euthanasia. Yet the final report claimed to have found global support for what was called medical aid in dying.
Which was not true.
Well, you know, what they did is they instead of saying, oh, gee, we haven't had support for either euthanasia or assisted suicide, let's call it something else and we can claim we have support for that.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. But as we know, the Superior Court just says, no, it's still a pig.
Yeah, because in French it was called aide médicale à mourir, which means help, medical help to die.
Right.
So somebody help you. It's very kind. Okay, very, very looking kind.
Right. Big lie number 2, medical aid in dying. So if we'll get to that term, we'll talk about that term directly. Advocacy groups promoted the term medical aid in dying over physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia based on focus groups' response that said the term was more palatable. It was more easy to swallow than assisted suicide.
Yeah, it's soft and there is help in the title and things like that.
Right, exactly.
The trouble is it's euthanasia.
Right. This was done by Compassion and Choices, who pulled together to support groups to look for better terms that would have a better public response to what they were trying to do. And so they asked lots and lots of people about different terms and different phrases,
they use focus group.
Right, what they would like to hear, and this is what people like to hear, even though it's not very accurate as a way of describing what's being done.
Yeah, that's the way they change garage with a pump in the front from gas pump to for Québecers dépanneur or convenience store for the other.
Yeah. In going along with this change, media and politicians have fostered public confusion as to what medical aid in dying means. During the 2013 debate on Quebec's euthanasia bill, an Ipsos poll showed that only 33% of Québécois understood that medical aid in dying meant a doctor giving a lethal injection, while 51% did not know it means taking action to end life. So that's more, the majority of people didn't understand that it was about
but they want to help you.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And the opposition is palliative treatment.
Right.
And palliative treatment is related to mostly people when they doesn't really know, they think about end of life cancer people suffering, you know.
Right.
So they doesn't want. Okay.
And
they are not that kind of guy.
Right.
So they prefer to be helped.
And 33% thought it was palliative care. So that was a lot of people who were confused. And so it's not surprising that everybody thinks it's a great idea because they don't understand what it is.
So we should call a pig a pig.
Right. Call a pig a pig. Only religious, big lie number 3, only religious conservatives oppose assisted suicide and euthanasia. And that's...
we are living proof that it's not true at all. True. Right. She's not religious, I'm not at all. And
we are certainly not conservative.
Absolutely no.
And that's true for most people with disabilities. Not all, obviously, because people with disabilities have a range of views. But our point of advocacy groups have drawn a false dichotomy. Those who support assisted suicide and euthanasia are forward-thinking progressives, while those who oppose it are political conservatives or religious fanatics. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, we oppose, and we're more progressives than the progressives.
Right.
Why? Because the way we think is completely outside the box that they build for us, you know?
Right,
exactly. They build a box, they want to fit us inside.
Right.
But there is outside and it's existing. And there's many things outside this box.
This view leaves out that the people who are most directly affected by the legalization of assisted suicide and euthanasia, who have also been among the most stalwart opponents of the practices, which is people with disabilities. All of the major disability rights groups in North America and the Commonwealth countries strongly oppose assisted suicide and euthanasia as fundamentally discriminatory.
Which is true.
So that includes the UK, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, and Canada.
And even if there is law against discrimination, okay, the discrimination exists by itself.
Right.
Okay, so you could not say, "Hey, guy, don't discriminate." You could put a law, but you could not put the thinking inside the head of everybody.
Right, exactly. Exactly. The analysis of the disability movement is based on the socioeconomic and political status of elders and people who are diagnosed with degenerative diseases and disabilities. Disability onset means a sudden loss of access and status in our society. Despite the glowing rhetoric of laws and conventions, the failure to enforce those laws show that disabled people continue to be devalued, segregated, impoverished, and ignored in our society.
Yes.
And that level of analysis is much deeper than the whole my body, my choice. And that's why we talk about it's not really a choice if you don't have to die, if you don't have a choice how you live.
If you have a choice between dying and be tortured and dying, you make choice dying. But if your choice is wider and you have to choose between a reasonable death with palliative care properly managed and to be euthanized, probably you will choose to the palliative care.
Right.
Okay, that's just logical. You want to see your family. You want to feature your friend before going out. Okay.
Right, but the problem is that the program in Quebec, first of all, they're not offering palliative care to everybody. And second of all, they're not offering home care services and the other services that people need when they become disabled and ill.
But they try.
Well,
but they are not really ready. They are not ready at all.
It's not a requirement, and it's certainly not the present orientation of the services. The orientation of the services now is to put people in institutions, not to give them home-based services and modify their homes to be accessible. In fact, most landlords don't want you to modify a rental unit to be accessible. Big lie number 4, it's not about disabled people.
Oops.
They say that a lot because, you disabled people, you're just being overly sensitive, oversensitive. Don't worry, nothing's going to happen to you. You're just being oversensitive.
The trouble is, every time that you go to an hospital and you have a small crisis, some kind of comment ça s'appelle une pneumonie.
Pneumonia, yeah.
Pneumonia, and you are heavily handicapped, you have great chance to be offered euthanasia,
right,
and medical aid for dying.
Yeah.
And sometime in the time that you are the weakest.
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
is not a good time to take decision.
Right. And we know that because the legalization of assisted suicide and euthanasia presupposes that life with a disability is a fate worse than death, which it is not, of course.
We are both handicapped.
Right.
We love life.
Right. Right. The most common reasons cited by those seeking assisted suicide in jurisdictions where it is now legal relate to living with a disability in a discriminatory society. So they can't claim that it's not about disability because it's disability concerns that are driving people to ask for assisted suicide. Most such laws either implicitly or explicitly apply to people with disabilities, yet supporters poo-poo the concerns of disability advocates who point out that nearly everyone who receives assisted suicide or euthanasia has a physical or mental disability, whether or not they also have a terminal illness.
That's life. When you're getting old, you start to have bad knees or low vision or thing like that.
Right, exactly.
But the life is not over because you move slower or you use a wheelchair or you could not see much that very big character. I don't know, but life still worth something.
Right, exactly. But the idea of assisted suicide is based on this notion that if you become disabled, life isn't worth living anymore. And so it's about disability, but they claim it's not about disability. So it's kind of screwed.
They don't want to see the pig. Lipsticks look like.
Right.
Look very nice.
Right. The emperor is wearing a very nice suit of clothes.
Yeah.
Big line number 5. There is no slippery slope, meaning there is no problem in other places. Nothing's going to go wrong.
It will happen. It already happened.
Right. Even the court in the Carter case acknowledged that the widening eligibility criteria, for example, children, people with mental illness, and those who are tired of life, is happening in other countries, and easing of oversight in jurisdictions where U.S. Assisted suicide and euthanasia are legal might be a problem.
But even in the very late talk from our first minister, okay, Mr. Couillard, or it was the Minister of the Health, I don't remember which one, 2 days ago. He said that he wants to imply this law as fast as possible to get very good service to end-of-life people and teenagers and
right.
And people who doesn't have their mental health.
Right, exactly.
And the law doesn't forbid it.
Right.
But he have already decided
that those are the next groups. Those are the next groups who are going to be given access to medical aid in dying, which we know is actually.
But it's not a slippery slope, a small slope with a little bit of ice. It's a very steep slope. It's going fast.
Yeah. However, instead of so they've acknowledged it as a problem, but instead of carefully crafting a regulatory scheme to prevent assisted suicide and euthanasia from posing a danger to people in vulnerable circumstances, politicians and commentators are imposing deadlines and calling for fast-track implementation of the policy. So, you know, we're supposed to be carefully crafting a regime to prevent
life
problems.
of people are online.
Right, we're supposed to be doing this carefully, but they make us hurry up. We only have a year deadline, even though there was an election, even though there's all these other problems in the way that get in the way. We have to hurry. No, that's not a good way to craft.
Don't look too close.
Right.
You may find something.
That's not the way to craft a carefully regulated scheme. And finally, the result of all this is a medical community that doesn't know what to do, a public that doesn't know its rights, and a non-existent system geared to trap people and their doctors in a maze with only one exit, marked euthanasia.
Yeah.
And it's already the kinds of problems we've already talked about in Quebec. Fortunately, they're going to have to wait in Quebec until things get a little better planned, and it might be good to give them time, for example, to appoint a commission, which they haven't done yet. So, and we have one bonus big lie: killing is care. And I think we can just kind of leave that as it is.
Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, I think that speaks for itself. More information and contact details. There are many reasons to oppose the legalization of assisted suicide and euthanasia. Here are the 4 fundamental reasons that we like to name. I mean, there are many other reasons, but these are the 4 big ones, and they're pretty easy to remember. They're pretty easy to keep in mind. First is that it's not necessary because everyone has the option to commit suicide or to refuse medical care and have palliative sedation on
And
demand.
we have a direct proof.
Right.
We made an interview with Mr. Bouchard, who died because he suicided himself in an hospital,
Right.
and nobody opposed what he was doing.
Right, exactly.
He received good care, he was not suffering, and he died peacefully. Before this law and legally.
Right, exactly. The second reason is because it's discriminatory. Because while people without disabilities receive suicide prevention services if they express a wish to die, people with disabilities will be encouraged and even assisted to kill themselves. That, we think, is a double standard that's discriminatory against people with disabilities.
And there is proof of that. You know, every week there is a scandal about mistreatment to old people in institution.
Right.
And it's part of that.
Right, exactly. Also, we believe that choice to die cannot be free as long as people with disabilities don't have the choice in where and how they live. And we talked about that already a little bit today. But if you don't have a choice of where and how you live, it doesn't make it, any choice about dying isn't really free. And none of these laws really clearly address the quality of life of the person before they die. They talk about medical care and they talk about pain relief, but the reasons people ask for assisted suicide don't have to do with those things. It has to do with living independently and being able to control your life, and those aren't addressed by the laws. And finally, safeguards don't work. Where these practices are legal, safeguards do not prevent people with disabilities from being wrongly killed.
Just look at international news. You see people who are not at their end of life being killed, particularly in Belgium and
the
Netherlands. Okay, that's happening every week now.
Right.
Okay, and we find a week ago a blog over a young, healthy woman who want to die in Belgium and received the permission to kill herself with help. And at the end, she just refused.
Right.
And the argument of the people, because the blog was by people who are in favor of euthanasia, they say if this law doesn't exist in Belgium, this woman had killed herself.
She might have killed herself.
Okay.
But she had already attempted suicide but had not succeeded.
Yeah.
And chances were she might have tried again, but when people try to kill themselves but don't succeed, it's generally considered a cry for help.
And basically what she was, she suffered the same sickness that my wife here.
She had severe depression, just like me, and she was seeking help. And it's hard to get help when you have depression because the system isn't really geared toward helping people with mental illness over long term. So,
but you know, people from Belgium are really not better than us.
Right.
We are a lot better. We will do better than them.
Right. We won't mistreat our people with mental illness. No, we don't do that.
We doesn't want to do that, but it happened.
So
and we are not better than Belgium.
The goal of our webcasts is to give disabled people a place to talk about these issues among ourselves from our point of view, because our experience is pretty different from other people who talk about this issue.
We are the expert of living in the medical system.
Right, right.
Because we use it regularly.
Right.
Much more than the normal population.
Right. To recognize that experience and expertise in dealing with this, with discrimination and the medical system, and to take our place in the public debate aside from conservatives and progressives, what we talked about earlier. To view our videos, and we have about 2 years, we have more than 2 years worth of videos, more than 60 webcasts available for viewing. To find them, go to YouTube or the search engine of your choice and search for Euthanasia and Disability, and you'll find our webcasts. To participate live, send your email address, and I will send you a link to join us live about 15 minutes before we start. For more information on the subjects we discuss here, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/toujourvivant, not dead yet, all one word. Go to our website at tvndy.ca. Email me at info@tv-ndy.ca, or you can follow me on Twitter @TVNDY. Thanks for being with us, and thanks to Christian for
Thank you, Amy.
helping out.
See you soon.
We'll see you
Have a nice
next
week.
time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.